Hello, and welcome to Tax Matters. I am Arthur Ferdinand, your Fulton County Tax Commissioner. In this edition of Tax Matters, we are going to take a look at the new proposed millage rate increase and how it might affect homeowners in the city and in unincorporated South Fulton. Joining us next will be Gladys Bradfield and Matthew Buff. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Tax Matters. I am your Fulton County Tax Commissioner, Arthur Ferdinand. Today we are talking about the proposed millage rate increase and how it might affect homeowners, both in the city and in unincorporated South Fulton. Gladys Bradfield is the Property Tax Administrator with our office, and Matthew Buff is the Accounting Tax Administrator. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, Matthew. Since we are speaking about millage rate increase, and that has been in the news for the last 2 weeks, let's start by explaining to the public what is the rollback millage rate or the revenue neutral millage rate.
Sure. I think there's two important things that people need to realize each year when your value changes. It can either change because of an additional improvement you've made to your property, which would be considered growth, or just a reassessment, the market value of the property would increase or decrease. When the county talks about a rollback millage rate or a revenue neutral millage rate, what they take into consideration is the previous year's digest value, and they take into consideration the reassessment, not the growth, just the reassessment of those properties in Fulton County. And whatever the new millage rate that would be equivalent to what the previous year's total revenue was would be considered your rollback rate. So it's last year's values plus any reassessment, whether it's an increase or decrease due to the market, gives you your rollback rate.
Now, what is growth?
Growth would be, like I say, additional improvements. If somebody were to put an addition onto their property or make improvements in their property, a lot of which requires a building permit, the assessor's office will go out and capture that as growth to your property.
Now, the county and cities are allowed to capture any increase in revenue on growth.
Correct.
But they're not allowed to capture any increase in revenue based on the reassessment up of properties.
Not unless they advertise it as a taxing increase. So even if they want to set the same millage rate as they did the previous year, if the values had gone up due to reassessment, that would be considered a tax increase.
And so when the county says that it cannot set its millage rate, did not set its millage rate yesterday, July 16th board meeting, because they didn't advertise it, that means that they now have to advertise it to make it public make it public before they could set that millage rate.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
And Gladys could probably cover those advertisement requirements.
Okay. Now, the county proposed a 1.57 mil increase in property taxes. Is that right, Gladys?
Over the millage rate of the millage
Over the
rate,
millage
yes.
rate. And that new proposed millage rate is greater than the rollback millage rate,
Yes,
which means they should have advertised it to the public.
absolutely.
And although it was advertised, it was not advertised fully using the web, which is the new law.
One of the new requirements that came into play last year,
Okay.
where they also have to advertise the meetings 1 week prior on the website. They have to be advertised 1 week prior to the actual meeting.
And so because the county did not advertise on the website, we have to start all over again.
We're going to start all over again, advertise the 5-year history 2 weeks before the millage rate is actually set, and then have the 3 public hearings and advertise in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution as well as on the website.
What does it mean to the public from a tax bill standpoint?
Well, that means the tax bills are going to go out later. They're setting the millage rate on August 6th, then we're not able to get an improved digest or a temporary collection order until everything is finalized. Once that happens, then we will start our procedures right away of calculating the tax bills and proving those and sending those out. So those were probably, the earliest we probably can have those on the streets is the very end of August.
The very end of August. So that means
That means a later due date. That means that instead of the county having an October 15 due date, as normally their due date will more likely be October 31st at the earliest.
October 31st.
At the earliest, yes, sir.
Before you can even begin printing bills
Yes.
and collecting taxes, we need to get the approval of the digest from the Revenue Commissioner.
That's correct. That's correct. The digest, according to law, has to be submitted by August 1st. So one of the first things we're going to have to do is ask the State Department of Revenue for an extension to bring it in after the digest, after the millage rates are approved. And then once the millage rates are approved, as I said, we'll begin calculating, and Matt's office will begin reconciling the bills, and we'll begin proving those to make sure everything is correct on those. And continuing the process, completing the process for the tax digest and submitting that to the state. So once the State Department of Revenue issues us a letter of compliance that our 2014 digest is in compliance, then we will be able to mail bills and collect taxes.
Matt, do you know? Suppose he says no.
Oh, that'll further delay the tax bills. We can't legally send out a tax bill for 2014 until we receive their approval, their certification.
So what's the alternative?
The alternative would be, depending on the reason that the state would say no, might mean the county going and getting a temporary collection order
From the Superior Court,
from the Superior Court, correct?
which gives us the authority to then bill and collect without the Revenue Commissioner's consent.
Correct, until we meet the requirements of the Revenue Department to then get a certified digest.
Okay. So those are the steps that need to be followed before we can even send out the bills.
Correct.
And the most optimistic view from you, Gladys, would be October 31st
As the due date, yes,
as
sir.
the due date, which
Yes,
is
sir.
15 days later than normal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the proposed millage rate increase by the board is proposed. It is not an increase to you taxpayers. It is not an increase yet until the
Correct.
board has approved it.
Correct.
There could be no increase at all.
That's correct.
That's at anything in between. But let's say that it is approved. The 1.57 mil is improved. Is approved. That's a 15.83% increase in that millage rate. But that is not the end of the story. I think there has been a lot of misinformation. Matthew, if we include that 15.83% increase in our millage rate in the overall mix of millage rates, the total millage rate, what is the overall increase in millage rate for somebody in Atlanta?
Well, of course, and somebody in Atlanta, it'll be less than 3% overall.
It'll be less than 3% increase overall. And the reason for that, I'll tell the taxpayers, is because the city of Atlanta has decreased their millage rate.
Yes.
And so even if you have an increase in the millage rate in Fulton County, the net result is not as high as you have been led to believe in the press.
Correct.
Okay? So for a property that's worth $100,000 in the city of Atlanta, what would be the increase in taxes if the board approves this millage rate?
For a $100,000 house in the city of Atlanta, the dollar difference is $48.80.
So the increase in taxes to someone who lives in the city of Atlanta in a $100,000 house would be $48.80. That's $4 a month.
Right.
I like to break it down into things that
Okay.
people understand. $4 a month. And for
And this is
$200,000,
this is also a non-homesteaded property.
and this is a non-homestead property. It'll be much less than a homesteaded property.
Homesteaded property.
For a $200,000 house in the city of Atlanta, how much would the overall increase in taxes be if the board sets the increase in millage rate by 1.57?
$97.60.
And that's $8 a month.
Okay.
You know, you got to get it in terms people understand.
Yes, sir.
$300,000 house.
$300,000 house, $146.40.
That's about $15 a month. I could divide. It's approximately
Okay. A little
$15
less.
a month.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's go to unincorporated Fulton County, a $100,000 house with this increase of 1.57 mil in the Fulton millage rate.
In unincorporated Fulton County, that would mean $60.80 on a non-homesteaded property.
$60.80 a year, and that's $5 a month increase in taxes. A $200,000 house in South Fulton,
$200,000 house, $121.60.
so that's $10 a month increase. And so there were, to the taxpayers, there are some big numbers thrown out as to how much taxes are going to increase. I just wanted to let you know what the actual net increase in your taxes is going to be with that increase in Fulton County. I think that has been very helpful to let people understand the impact of this potential increase. But again, I say to the taxpayers, this is not an increase until the board has said so.
That's correct.
It could be no increase at all or anything in between. But the net of it is not much increase per month in your taxes if this was to go through. We are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back to continue our discussion. Stay with us. Now, this next segment is very exciting to me. We are going green. What does that mean? We are going to begin using e-billing. We are going to give you the opportunity to sign up to receive your bills electronically and pay electronically as you can do right now. But we are going to expand what we can do online. Going green. Gladys, first of all, let me compliment both Gladys Bradfield and Matthew Buff for spearheading this effort for us to send you bills electronically. It was a yeoman's job in very, very short time. And we plan to do much more in this avenue. But right now, Gladys, what is going green?
What is going green? It's the
and
opportunity.
Don't tell me about those things on TV.
No, okay. It's the opportunity to sign up, as you said, for electronic billing. Of course, with the state of Georgia laws right now, we can't do this total electronic billing. So in the meantime, our taxpayers can sign up when they go into our website and locate their parcel or their parcels. There's an opportunity there for them to register for paperless billing, so that they, in the future when the laws change, they will not receive a paper copy. But until the laws change, they will still receive their bills electronically via their email address, as well as a paper copy of that bill.
Matthew, do you remember the name of the law that didn't pass last year, and why didn't it pass?
Well, I don't remember the exact number of the law, but the reason why it didn't pass is because, as with a lot of times during the legislative session, they'll take a good law and attach on a lot of other pieces to it to try to get it through. And unfortunately, the good law to allow for all tax commissioners throughout the state of Georgia, all governments, to be able to do e-billing without sending the paper copy, in other words, to save costs, be more efficient, that got attached to other pieces of legislation that caused it to not pass through the state.
But there's hope for next year.
There's hope for next year. Hopefully next year they'll leave it alone and leave it by itself, and so it should definitely get through. I mean, we got to get caught up with the times of the regular business.
But we got our work done to do it. And so in the last month, we introduced what I call a soft introduction. We first made a notice on the website, and some people found it and started using it. And so we got out some of the kinks. Correct. So that allowed us to clean it up a little bit. And then we put an announcement in each of the solid waste bills.
Yes.
And then the volume just picked up. Many people wanting to subscribe to this right now. You can use it right now, but we still have to send you a hard copy bill until the laws change, so that we could eliminate all the paper.
That is correct.
Okay?
That is correct.
But we have a running start on this.
We have a running start. The solid waste bills were on the street July 1st.
Yes.
It was about 180,000, maybe a little less than that. So those notices were placed in those, in each solid waste bill, and already just in the last 2 weeks, we've had well over 400 people sign up for paperless billing. They've also signed up for to schedule their payments. That's a part of our new e-billing process as well.
Talk about that part of
They can
aspect of
actually
it.
go to the website and they can schedule when their payments are going to come out of their checking account and going to be mailed to us. As we've been looking back at the scheduled
mailed to
payments,
us, remember.
were sent to us electronically.
Electronically.
Yes, sent to us electronically.
This is just like when you pay your power bill, you can schedule it ahead of time.
You can schedule it to come out of your checking account and be paid to us. So a lot of these people are scheduled theirs right around the due date, August 15th. So we're looking for a lot of that money to hit the system so those accounts will be paid in full and made whole on that day. Some of them are a little bit before that. But it does give the people the opportunity to schedule that payment, which is really good for our citizens because a lot of times we get calls of people going on vacation or out of the country and they want to know how they can, make a payment in advance. So this is one of the things that gives them that opportunity.
Okay. Matthew, talk about e-checks now.
E-checks, like I say, as part of our Going Green initiative, it also involved allowing people over the internet to pay by e-check. In other words, all they have to do is, once they create their account, is go ahead and put in their checking account number and their routing number, and they can send us an e-check, pay that immediately right through our website. It's a huge advantage to taxpayers. They don't have to go writing a physical check and putting it in the mail, sending it to us. Hopefully the post office gets it to us timely, and then once it gets to us, a normal check would be handled manually by an individual to open it up, to run it through and process it. So the timing of it is immediate. Immediately will hit their account, immediately hit our system, so they'll immediately be able to see that their taxes are paid.
Now, last year we had a problem with banks. Many people think that when they authorize a bank to pay their bills, that it's paid immediately. The fact is that when, in that case, somebody authorizes the bank to pay their bill, the bank then cuts a check and then mails a check to us without a coupon. And yes, last year we were just flooded with checks from banks without coupons, which puts us into manual mode and took weeks for us to process those checks. The e-checks replace those manual checks.
Absolutely, and the important thing is too is e-check there's no fee for somebody to pay by e-check. Last year in 2013, about 58% of our transactions were by check. Every single one of those transactions, then at 58%, we had to handle manually. It'd be a huge, efficiency for us to get as many people as we can to pay by e-check. Those we don't have to touch at all.
And it doesn't cost the taxpayer anything.
Doesn't cost them a penny.
Now, in the case of the scheduled payments, don't you tell people when it's going to be deducted from their account? Give them some
Actually, they
notice?
sign up for that because they're looking at their tax bill. So actually, they're signing up and saying when they want these payments to come out.
Don't you send a notification before it says in 2 days or 3 days?
We'll send a notification after they send us, after they've scheduled it, that that's coming out. And they also receive a notification back when it's paid, that it's been paid.
What about receipts?
That's the notification that they will receive back in their email.
Okay,
And it looks more like a letter, but it's actually a receipt of that.
that's very good. We also started using American Express, which is new for us. And so we'll continue to add other means of payments as we go along. Now, Matthew, have you any record yet of what percentage of the payments are e-checks yet?
Well, since we started just last month accepting e-checks, we've gotten over 900, which that's been about 40% of our transactions online now have been e-checks, and it's actually about 60% of the money that we've received is through e-checks. So that's 900 less checks that have to be sent through the mail and manually processed by our office.
Or lost?
Or lost. You never know.
Very good. Now, the iPhone is the new way of communicating, basically. Everybody's moving to the iPhones and these smartphones. I don't have one yet, but everybody else has. What's the future look like to you?
Well, I think that is the future. Like I say, the smartphone, the tablets, those kind of devices are the future. When you look at last year in 2013, only 1% of our transactions were cash transactions. So it's obvious people have gone away from using cash, which is it's good for us as well. That's a security issue for us as well. So we expect that to stay extremely low. So the next thing is getting that 58% of our transactions that were check related to be more online related. We already know that roughly 40% go through a mortgage company. So those ones, the actual taxpayer themselves is not sending in the payment. That's handled through their mortgage company. So it's that other 60% we want to push as many of those through online payments. And like I say, for somebody to be able to do it through their iPhone, their smartphone or any kind of device like that is that much more, efficient for them.
When we send the actual tax bills out and the brochures, we are going to embed a QR code in it. Let's talk about the QR code
correct.
on our tax bills.
Well, the QR code is
And
going to
then
do.
the future.
Yes, sir. What it's going to do this year is that QR code, if you have your smartphone and you have your QR code reader, it will take you directly to our website so that you can go in and you can search for your property taxes. And then, like I said, it will be on the front of the tax bill. It will also be on the brochure. In the future, what we're working towards, the one on the brochure will always just take you to the taxes, to the website. But the one on the tax bill, what we're working towards is that when you use your QR reader and search that QR code, it's going to take you directly to your account.
And you can view it and pay it.
You can view it and you can pay it right with your smartphone.
Or schedule the payment.
Or schedule the payment.
One other feature is the ability to link many of your properties and pay and see it at one time.
That's correct. So when you go into the website, if you pull up one property, and use your email address. If all your properties, when you sign up for it or register for them, you use the same email address and the same password, you can go in there and just pull up one with your email address, and it will pull up all of your properties. So if you have 8 properties, for instance, and you use the same email address and password, it will pull up all of them and will show all of your invoices. So you can select what you want to pay or how much. You can also pay part pays. If you want to pay them partially, you can do that at that time. But you have all your accounts will show at one glance.
This is very exciting. Thank you both for joining us. This is very exciting, and there'll be more innovative things that we are going to be giving our citizens in the near future. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
Both of you.
Thank you.
When we come back, I'll give you my final thoughts and information on how to contact my office. Just stay with us. Thank you for watching our show today. If you still have questions or comments about the proposed millage rate increase or any other Fulton County tax-related issue, contact our office. The number is 404-613-6100 or email us at taxmatters@fultoncountyga.gov. That's all the time we have today. We'll see you next time on Tax Matters. In the meantime, have a very nice summer.